What's up, guys? Today I'm going to walk you through how I created an EDM track from start to finish in 5 steps. I'm going to take you from inspiration to finished product. So you'll see how I started the track, you'll hear the sounds, you'll see what plugins I used, and how I mixed the final song. I'm even going to provide you with the Ableton song down below. You can download it to play around with it yourself. Oh, and you can follow this process every time you create a song. The elements of this process is repeatable. So don't forget to subscribe for more of these walkthroughs, and check out the other videos on my channel for more information about music production and music gadgets. So let's get into the song. Today's inspiration comes from ODESZA. And I've been wanting to modify vocals in the ODESZA style, you know, taking a long vocal sample, chopping it up, and adjusting the pitch and stuff to make it your own. And I did just that. Let's hear the synth that I chose for the main chord progression. I actually got this synth sound from a sample. The entire sample actually sounds like this. So I just used very tiny bits of it and I played it in chords. That's the basic chord progression. I wanted some movement to it. So I actually added movement by output. And I chose the Synco Trem preset, and it gives it a little bit of a rhythm. Here's what it sounds like. Once I'd done that, I said, okay, this sounds pretty good. So for this song, I started with the vocal sample that I downloaded from splice.com. The next step was adjusting the hook, adjusting those vocal samples with this chord progression. So I pretty much just messed around with it, and you can actually see the original thing, what I played from the vocal samples right here, triggering different samples at different times. Now, after I had adjusted their pitch, I then combined the vocal samples with the synth, and I had the chorus. Now, I explained the full process of chopping vocals and making them sound different in a separate video. So I'm going to link that video somewhere here, and you can go and watch that because I go into a lot of detail. Now, for just a quick overview of how I chop this vocal, I'll do this with the male vocal sound here. So for this track, I actually sang the vocals myself, and then I took the entire thing I sang, I chopped it up, and found little pieces of the sample that I really liked, and then I used a few effects to change it. But again, check out my other videos so you can see more details on how I did this. Now, once I had that, I was ready to add the drum and bass line. Here they are. Here are all the drums. The kick was used from a sample from splice.com. Just very simple. The hi-hats were added using a sample as well. And on the hi-hats, I added a little bit of filter to get rid of some of that top end. And I also added the plugin called Decapitator to also do a little bit of a high cut, add a little bit more drive in there, and adjust the tone. So those are the hi-hats. The kick, all I did was add the drum bus to give it a little bit more boom. Now then I added percussion to this. So you'll see in parts of the song, I automated the auto filter to lower the frequency during the breakdown, for example. So there you go. I added a snare myself from one of the snare samples I have. Here's what it sounds like. I grouped all the drums together, and on top of them I added the glue compressor from Ableton and the decapitator over all the drums, increasing the drive and cutting the high and the tone a little bit. Decapitator from Soundtoys does a really nice job of warming up things. I really like to use it just to give a little bit extra drive and warmth to pretty much anything. I added to a lot of stuff. So those are the drums. Here's what the chorus sounds like now with the synth, so the chord progression that I came up with, the vocals and the drums. So the next step was laying out the full song in the timeline view in Ableton. I knew I needed an intro. I wanted to bring in the chorus very quickly so the listener could recognize the hook of the song. I knew I wanted a breakdown in there, and then probably bring in the chorus, make it a little bigger, and for a nice finish. So I added a few things here. I added Exhale to give a little bit of variation in the vocal sounds. Exhale is a plugin that has its own vocal sounds in it, and you can play them on your keyboard. And I used this in various parts of the song, and I also opened the song with this sound. Here it is. I have a guitar from a guitar sample, which I then sliced and repitched and used a little bit of echo on there. I used the Soundtoys Echo Boy Jr. Right after that, you'll hear the synth come in, and you'll hear the vocals come in. Just the percussion go in and out. You'll hear the percussion coming in again. And I've now introduced the bass. For the bass, I used Buffer Bass, which is an Ableton preset, and I compressed it. Now, if you watch the compressor down here, you'll see that I've sidechained it to the kick drum so that every time the kick drum hits, the bass line gets out of the way, but it also adds this really nice rhythm pattern to the bass line as well. Without the compressor in there, it sounds like this. Now listen to it again with the sidechaining in there. Normally when you pull up the compressor in Ableton, it looks like this. If you press this little button, it opens up the sidechain stuff. Click on sidechain to activate it. Choose which track from your existing tracks that you want the compressor to be listening to and adjusting the compression to. I chose the kick, and then what I did is I pulled the threshold all the way, almost all the way down, so that every time the kick comes in, the bass line drops almost completely. Once the introduction is done, we go right into the chorus. Now, in the next part of the song that I've called the verse here, it's just a variation for the song. And I introduced another synth. The synth that I used is a Kontakt synth. I think this is basically the default Kontakt synth. Oh, and I added the male vocals in there. This is the male vocals that I recorded myself, and I auto-tuned them a little bit, used a little alterboy to change the format to make myself sound a little different. Here's what it sounds like without any alteration, so I'll take off the echo, the reverb, and alterboy. She says, but I also once I added alterboy, changed the format, made my voice sound a little bit lower, added echo boy and little plate, just a little reverb plugin by Soundtoys. You also see I added a grand piano in here. The grand piano I used is the Ableton stock grand piano. I played a few chords and I put in an arpeggiator, so it sounds like this by itself. Doesn't sound much like a grand piano, but that's because I really adjusted the brightness, the tone down, and the hardness down, and then I applied an auto filter to it. The next part I wanted to do, I called this the bridge, because I wanted to add a little bit of another vocal that I found. I bring back that guitar sound that you heard in the intro. Breakdown, I changed the chords I played on the piano. I did add some strings. This is a Kontakt instrument by Embertone called Intimate Strings. And I think the Instrument Strings Lite is a free instrument, if I'm not mistaken, so you can download that. And also I added this synth from Vacuum Pro. Vacuum Pro synth, I think it's still $1 on Plugin Boutique. Go check it out because you might still get it for $1. I had a video about the Vacuum Synth Pro, which is on my channel. I'll link it up here. I really like this synth because it's super warm. So it just adds a little bit in there. Here's what the complete thing sounds like. Guitars. Hi-hats. Percussion. That's the Vacuum Pro synth. Vocals. Piano. A little bit of extra guitar was in there, and the strings. Now after that, I have like a pre-chorus. Kind of just building up the energy again to the final chorus. And now we're back into the chorus. This time in the chorus, I wanted to build it up. So you'll see that I don't have the exhale vocals come in just yet. I also don't have my male vocals come in yet. I'm introducing the Kontakt synth back in. So Kontakt synth is back in now. And then I'm having everything come in for the repeat of the chorus. And here it is, male vocals. You'll hear in the second part of the second chorus, I have the male vocals and I have those female vocal chops kind of answering each other. Listen to it again. Bring in exhale again. And now I start cutting certain instruments and some of the drums. So you hear the snare is gone, kick is gone, percussion's gone, that synth is lost. Now if you hear something right at the end there was like a drum roll, right? So the last thing I added the song in just certain points so that it's easier for the listener to know that something big is going to happen, I either bring in drum rolls like that or a riser. So you'll see the riser here, a white noise sample riser that I got from spice.com, and by itself it just sounds like this. So it's just building up into different parts of the song. The drum roll comes in twice. Here's what that sounds like. So in the final step, I just tweaked the mix of all the tracks individually a little bit so that it sounded like a full nice mix together. Added echoes to the guitar to give it a little bit more space. I added to the master track 2 plugins. First, I added Little Radiator, which just gives warmth. I used the preset Getting Warmer and adjusted the heat. It's a very simple plugin and it adds some really nice warmth. I also used one of my favorite plugins, the Greg Wells Mixcentric plugin from Waves, and this kind of just boosts all the volumes of the entire mix and makes everything sit really nice. I used the preset Party Started. After I added these to the master track, I went back and had to adjust things just a little bit. I did a little bit of automation here and there to bring in some of the effects like the filter on the synth, and I automated the volumes here and there. Well, that's pretty much it. Now if you want to hear the full track, I'll put a link to my SoundCloud below so you can hear it from start to finish. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to learn from everyone you can, but make the music that you love. I will see you guys later.